talking about learning a foreign language. Hello and welcome to English Listening Time. Today, we're going to talk about learning a foreign language. Learning a new language can be exciting and challenging. Let's explore the vocabulary and phrases you might use when discussing language learning with others. Introduction to language learning. First, let's talk about what it means to learn a foreign language. A foreign language is any language that isn't your native language or the main language of the country you live in. For example, if you're from Spain and you're learning Chinese, then Chinese is a foreign language for you. Learning a foreign language is important for many reasons. It helps you communicate with people from other countries. It can improve your job prospects. It allows you to understand different cultures better. It's good for your brain and can improve your memory. It makes traveling to other countries easier and more fun. Reasons for learning a language. When talking about learning a language, people often discuss their reasons for doing so. Here are some common reasons. 1. For work or business. Many people learn a language to help with their job or to get a better job. 2. For travel. Learning the language of a country you want to visit can make your trip more enjoyable. 3. For family. If you have family members who speak a different language, you might want to learn it to communicate with them better. 4. For education. Some people learn a language to study in another country or to read books in the original language. 5. For personal interest. Many people simply enjoy learning languages as a hobby. When discussing your reasons, you might say, I'm learning Spanish because I want to travel to South America next year. I need to learn Mandarin for my new job. I'm studying French because I love French literature. Choosing a language to learn. There are thousands of languages in the world, so choosing one to learn can be difficult. Here are some factors people consider. 1. Usefulness. How many people speak this language? Is it used in many countries? 2. Personal interest. Do you like the culture associated with this language? 3. Difficulty. Some languages are harder to learn than others, depending on your native language. 4. Availability of resources. Are there good books, apps, or classes available for this language? 5. Career benefits. Will knowing this language help you in your job or future career? You might ask someone, why did you choose to learn Japanese? Do you think Chinese or Spanish would be more useful for me to learn? How did you decide which language to study? Language learning methods. There are many different ways to learn a language. Here are some common methods. 1. Language classes. Taking classes at a school or university. 2. Private tutoring. Working one-on-one with a language teacher. 3. Self-study. Using books, apps, or online resources to learn on your own. 4. Immersion. Living in a country where the language is spoken. 5. Language exchange. Practicing with a native speaker who wants to learn your language. 6. Online courses. Taking structured lessons on the internet. When discussing methods, you could say, I'm taking Spanish classes at the community college. I use a language learning app for 30 minutes every day. I have a language exchange partner I practice with once a week. Language learning resources. There are many resources available for language learners. Here are some common ones. 1. Textbooks. Books designed for language learners, often with exercises and explanations. 2. Apps. Mobile applications like Duolingo, Babel, or Rosetta Stone. 3. Podcasts. Audio programs for language learners. 4. YouTube videos. Many channels offer free language lessons. 5. Flashcards. Cards with words or phrases to help memorize vocabulary. 6. Language learning websites. Websites with lessons, exercises, and resources. You might ask someone, "What resources are you using to learn German? Can you recommend any good apps for learning French? How do you practice your listening skills?" Stages of language learning. Learning a language is a process that involves several stages. Here's a simple way to describe these stages. 1. Beginner. You're just starting and learning basic words and phrases. 2. Elementary. You can have simple conversations about everyday topics. 3. Intermediate. You can talk about more complex topics but still make many mistakes. 4. Advanced. You can communicate fluently on most topics but still have some difficulties. 5. Fluent. You can use the language easily and naturally in most situations. When talking about your level, you might say, "I'm still a beginner in Italian, but I can order food in a restaurant now." I'd say I'm at an intermediate level in French. I can have conversations, but I still make a lot of mistakes. I'm almost fluent in Spanish. I can watch movies without subtitles now. Language skills. When learning a language, there are 4 main skills to develop. 1. Listening, understanding spoken language. 2. Speaking. Expressing yourself verbally in the language. 3. Reading. Understanding written language. 4. Writing. Expressing yourself in writing. Some people find certain skills easier than others. You might say, "I find reading Spanish much easier than speaking it. My listening skills in Japanese are pretty good, but I struggle with writing. I need to work on my speaking skills in German. I get nervous when I try to talk." Vocabulary and grammar. 2 important aspects of language learning are vocabulary, words, and grammar, rules for using the language. Here's how you might talk about them. Vocabulary. I try to learn 5 new French words every day. I use flashcards to memorize new vocabulary. I find it helpful to learn words in context, not just by themselves. Grammar. German grammar is challenging because of all the cases and genders. I'm still confused by the subjunctive tense in Spanish. I find it easier to learn grammar by using it in sentences, not just studying rules. Challenges in language learning. Learning a language can be difficult. Here are some common challenges people face. 1. Pronunciation. Some languages have sounds that don't exist in your native language. 2. Grammar rules. Some languages have complex grammar that's very different from your own language. 3. Vocabulary. Remembering hundreds or thousands of new words can be challenging. 4. Listening comprehension. Understanding native speakers, especially when they speak quickly. 5. Confidence. Feeling nervous or embarrassed about making mistakes. 6. Consistency. Finding time to practice regularly. You might discuss challenges like this. I find Russian pronunciation really difficult, especially the soft and hard consonants. It's hard for me to remember to practice French every day. I get nervous when I try to speak Italian with native speakers. I'm afraid of making mistakes. Overcoming language learning challenges. Here are some strategies people use to overcome these challenges. 1. Regular practice. Setting aside time every day to study. 2. Immersion.
Surrounding yourself with the language through movies, music, or books. 3. Finding a study buddy, practicing with someone else who's learning the language. 4. Setting realistic goals, starting small and gradually increasing your study time or goals. 5. Using varied resources, combining different learning methods to keep things interesting. 6. Being patient, remembering that language learning takes time and celebrating small victories. You could say, I try to watch a French movie every weekend to improve my listening skills. I joined a Spanish conversation group to practice speaking more. I set a goal to learn 10 new words each week, and it's really helping my vocabulary grow. Progress and milestones.
Tracking your progress is important when learning a language. Here are some milestones people often mention. 1. Having your first conversation with a native speaker. 2. Understanding a movie without subtitles. 3. Reading a book in the foreign language. 4. Dreaming in the language you're learning. 5. Thinking in the foreign language without translating. 6. Passing a language proficiency test. You might share your progress like this. I'm so excited. I had a 10-minute conversation in Mandarin today without using any English. I just finished reading my first novel in Spanish. It took a long time, but I did it. I passed the B2 level German test last week. It was hard, but all my studying paid off.
Cultural aspects of language learning. Learning a language isn't just about words and grammar. It also involves understanding the culture of the people who speak that language. Here are some cultural aspects you might discuss. 1. Customs and traditions associated with the language. 2. History and geography of countries where the language is spoken. 3. Food and cuisine from those countries. 4. Music, art, and literature in that language. 5. Body language and gestures used by native speakers. 6. Etiquette and social norms in those cultures. You could say, I'm not just learning Japanese, I'm also learning about Japanese culture and history. I love exploring Italian cuisine as part of my language learning journey. Understanding French culture has helped me understand certain expressions and idioms better. Language learning and travel. Many people learn a language to help them when traveling. Here's how you might talk about this. 1. Discussing how knowing the language enhances your travel experience. 2. Sharing stories about using the language while traveling. 3. Talking about future travel plans that motivate your language learning. 4. Discussing cultural differences you've noticed while traveling. 5. Sharing tips for using a new language while traveling. You might say, knowing some basic Thai made my trip to Thailand so much more enjoyable. I'm learning Portuguese because I want to visit Brazil next year. Even though I made mistakes, the locals in Spain appreciated that I tried to speak Spanish.
Language learning communities. Many language learners join communities to practice and share experiences. These could be 1. Online forums or social media groups for language learners. 2. Language exchange meetups in your local area. 3. Study groups with other learners. 4. Online language exchange platforms. 5. Language learning events or conferences. You might talk about this by saying, I joined a Facebook group for English learners, and it's been really helpful. I go to a language exchange meetup every month to practice speaking. I found a study buddy online, and we practice Spanish together twice a week. Technology in language learning. Technology has changed how we learn languages. Here are some ways people use technology. 1. Language learning apps on smartphones. 2. Online courses and video lessons. 3. Virtual reality for immersive language experiences. 4. AI-powered chatbots for conversation practice. 5. Social media for connecting with native speakers. 6. Streaming services for watching shows in other languages. You could discuss this by saying, I use a language learning app on my phone for 15 minutes every day during my commute. I watch Korean dramas with subtitles to improve my listening skills. I practice French by chatting with an AI language tutor. Maintaining language skills. Once you've learned a language, it's important to maintain your skills. Here's how people often talk about this. 1. Discussing strategies for not forgetting the language. 2. Sharing ways to continue improving even after reaching fluency. 3. Talking about the challenges of maintaining multiple languages. 4. Discussing how often to practice to keep skills sharp. You might say, I try to read a news article in Spanish every day to maintain my vocabulary. Even though I'm fluent in German, I still learn new words and expressions all the time. It's challenging to keep up with both French and Italian, but I try to alternate which one I practice each week. Career benefits of language learning. Many people learn languages for career benefits. Here's how you might discuss this. 1. Talking about jobs that require or prefer multilingual candidates. 2. Discussing how knowing a language has helped in your career. 3. Sharing stories about using a foreign language at work. 4. Talking about industries where language skills are particularly valuable. You could say, knowing Mandarin has opened up so many job opportunities for me in international business. I use Spanish every day in my job as a nurse to communicate with patients. Many companies in my field prefer candidates who can speak at least 2 languages. Conclusion. Learning a foreign language is a journey that's different for everyone. It requires time, effort, and patience, but it can also be incredibly rewarding. Whether you're learning for work, travel, personal interest, or any other reason, remember that every little bit of progress is an achievement. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. They're a natural part of the learning process. The most important thing is to keep practicing and to enjoy the journey. Learning a new language opens up a whole new world of possibilities, allowing you to connect with people and cultures in ways you never could before. We hope this discussion about learning a foreign language has been helpful and inspiring. Keep practicing your English, and if you're learning another language too, keep up the great work. Thank you for listening to English Listening Time. Remember, every word you learn is a step towards fluency. Good luck with your language learning journey.